Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Nufftingz Speaks. Today I want to talk about something that really made me stop and think. Over the weekend, there was another hit and run here in Mississauga. I'm not making this video to speculate about the investigation or to point fingers. The police will do their job, and the facts will come out when they come out. What I want to talk about is something much bigger than one incident. Sometimes we get caught up in our own lives and we forget how quickly everything can change. One decision, one moment of carelessness, one choice to drive recklessly or to run instead of taking responsibility can change the lives of dozens of people forever. When we hear about a hit and run, it's easy to think of it as just another headline. But behind every headline is a family. There are parents, children, brothers, sisters, friends, co-workers, people whose lives will never be the same because of one decision that lasted only a few seconds. That's what I want to talk about today. Not the investigation, not the rumors, but the consequences of our choices and why every single one of us has responsibility when we get behind the wheel. So that's my intro to this video. Now, we are going to have to do a couple things and talk about, the rumors that sometimes come out with things like this and whatever. But so over the weekend, early Sunday morning, which was July 5th, there was an accident down at it was down by Eglinton Avenue and Erin Mills Parkway. That's around Credit Valley Hospital out in Mississauga. If you're from out here, you know where that is, right? So how this place is structured, it's got a lot of lanes and people don't talk about it, but this place has a lot of accidents, right? So what usually happens is people go to the hospital, right? And there's a lot of, doctor clinics in the area and whatever. So people go to the hospital, but then they don't want to pay the hospital parking. It's ridiculous, right? So people will then cross the road to go to the Erin Mills mall, right? It's a big enough mall. It's a good sized mall. But, what happens is people that aren't paying attention on the road, might hit somebody. And it happens it happens very frequently. Like people will sit there and be like, nah, but it does happen a good amount. You see, people forget. But anyways, the point I'm making here is there's so much speculation, right? So much talk, when you look at the comments, you look at what the police said, and we all know the police are going to do what they do. It was someone just was going fast, and we're talking really fast, hit a lady and then drove off. So, that's going to be manslaughter for sure, right? But then you have the comments, and I was looking at the comments and I go, boy, there's a lot of hate in people, and it was like comments like, just go to Brampton and check every Brampton basement. You might find the person. And it was like more racial things, right? But, there's all these rumors that go around too that, people can't drive, which we all know people are not driving very well. And that a lot of people are just buying their licenses. But then it goes further than that too. You have a lot of people that come from other countries, drive a different way in their countries, and then come over to North America, like out here, and bring that driving here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, it's just what it is, right? But, you know, um, these are things that makes you really sit down and think about it and go, sometimes we as humans hold on to grudges for too long. Something happened when you were a teenager and you hold on to that till you're 40. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, why? Let it go, because before you know it, it could all be taken away from you. Like you could be out of the picture. You know what I'm saying? Like anything could happen. You cannot wake up the next morning. And this is not to be like, oh my God, we're all going to die. We are, but we don't know when. You know what I'm saying? And would we want to know? If someone told us tomorrow and was able to tell us the exact day, do you want to know? Because I don't. I want it to be a surprise. But, it's when it's like, when you have family, we have people that are so busy, and it makes sense. Bills are expensive, food is expensive, the cost of living is so high, we're not making enough money. But people are so, busy now, man. Like, people have to work so much, two, three jobs, just to make ends meet. And then you don't have time. You don't have time to talk to your mom. You don't have time to talk to your dad. You don't talk to your siblings. And then you say, oh, I'll talk to them next week. And then I'll talk to them next week. And I'll talk to them next week. And then next thing you know, you don't have another week. The person you're supposed to talk to, they're gone, or you're gone. And, it's like, when you have issues with people, sometimes I feel like we really hold on to it way too long. And sometimes we should just look at it and say, you know what? I might be, I might think you're wrong, but I'm going to take responsibility and say, you know what? I'm wrong. I apologize. Let's just drop it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I feel like we should just take responsibility. If it's not our fault, take responsibility just to kill it, just to stop it. And then, you just move on. You know what I'm saying? Because none of those things matter later on. At some point, it's not going to matter at all if I don't like you and you don't like me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. But when you're family and when you're like longtime friends, you just make peace, man. Give each other a hug, dab each other up, fist pump, do all that and be like, you know what? Let's just, you know, have a drink, eat some food, and just talk and make peace with one another. Especially if you have like siblings, like, you might be mad at your sibling and you're like, yo, I ain't gonna talk to that person ever again. But it's your sibling, right? And it's like, you should just eventually, like, just let it go. Just talk, like, if you have no time, try to make time, even if it's 5 minutes. You'll holler at your mom, holler at your grandma. Some of our grandparents are lonely. Just call them up and say, hey, man, you good? You all right? I love you. I'm gonna come see you. I'm sorry I'm so busy, but I'm gonna find some time. I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna spend a couple hours with you. Your family, like well, that's family too, but like, a sibling's working all the time, you're working all the time. You call them up and say, hey, man, you want to get a coffee, 30 minutes, sit down, we'll talk, we'll catch up for 30 minutes. Old time friends that you haven't seen for years, just holler at them and say, hey, man, what you guys doing? You want to get a drink, get a coffee or something, and just be civil, man. We're like, life is too short, man. Like, this situation has ruined a family. It's destroyed what they were doing. It destroyed, you know, over senseless stuff. Like, if you hit somebody with a car, right? What's the point of driving off? Is there really a point to that? There's no point to it, man, because they're going to catch you and you're going to get charged for it. And that's the end of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because of recklessness, someone's gone. You just destroyed a family. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. This is such a big thing. It's all over the news. And, like, if you look it up, you'll find it. Like, just type in hit and run Mississauga and put the date or whatever. You'll see it. It was crazy. And that intersection there has had a lot of accidents. It's extremely busy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, it's wild. I feel bad for these types of things happen to people. Um, you know, you pray for them. You hope that, they can, deal with the situation, because, I wouldn't want that happening to me or my kids or anyone in my family. So you feel for people, but man, it's like, you know, they woke up that morning not thinking that they would get this type of news. You know what I mean? And that's wild, bro. It's just, you feel for people like that. But anyways, how was my video? There's nothing really more to say about this. The investigation is ongoing. Check it out if you want to. It's It's crazy. They had to shut down the road and everything too, and they had like, where they have like you see a shoe somewhere, they have a number to it. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. I didn't see one of those in a while. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. And remember, take care of your family. Holler at your family. If you haven't talked to your mama in a while, call up your mama and say, Mama, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.
Another late night chasing down the light for the grind that Nufftingz has to fight against the voices in the